way to sort of get a sense of the companies in a video. In addition, we're going to post it and it'll go live, and it's going to get tons of utility being recorded. So thanks for joining us, and we'll get going here as soon as Glen joins.
Quan, would you like me to send that Zoom link to Glen from Zoom once again?
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll do that. Just resent him.
Okay, thanks.
So other thing is that we're going to go like between me and Neri and Quan, we're going to stop our videos because so that it looks like a round table with the panelists and the companies.
Okay.
Once it starts. And I didn't know, so Glen Tullman, he's the chair, he's the moderator for today for your session. I didn't know if it was clear from the email because we had some questions as to who the moderator will be for the session. Between Charlie and Sid, let me know who's going to represent your company because we have both of you joining as the moderators. So let us know.
Yep, Sid will be representing. We weren't sure if he's going to be able to hop on, but he'll be able to be on.
He has hopped on actually. I can see him.
Yep.
Perfect.
Perfect.
And if Glen joins late here, Andrella, we can just start it and I can just kick it off and he can join later.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to do that right now?
Yeah, I think it's important to,
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, I can call him in the meantime if needed.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds good. All right. Okay, we're ready. We're going to let her rip.
Welcome to the second annual UCSF Digital Health Awards 2020, the Academy Awards of Digital Health, where we honor the best technologies that are defining and leading the digital health revolution.
We want to improve healthcare, so we're really excited to be part of this wonderful evening.
Collaborators include the top healthcare incubators, accelerators, and venture capitalists across America, featuring the top 100 digital health innovators in the country selected from over 1,000 entries, 15 curated award categories, hundreds of judges selected from the healthcare community, healthcare industry thought leaders, thousands of online attendees, and dozens of virtual events, culminating in the September 23rd finals, honoring those who are reshaping the industry and making a difference in the COVID pandemic.
Join me, Twee Vu, as we honor the role digital healthcare plays in rewriting the future of health.
And the UCSF Digital Health Awards is narrating that future. Join us on September 23rd at 6 p.m. Pacific time for a 90-minute celebration as we honor these winners, changing the future of healthcare.
Well, great, guys. Congratulations, first of all. And really excited that you're all here. We're going to get this going. And Glen Tullman's going to join us shortly. And we're excited that Glen will be here. So let's get into the today's agenda. And what we're going to basically be talking about is some amazing companies that are built new tools for the next application of AI. So first of all, this is an award that's sponsored by Livongo, and Livongo was last year's winner. And so we're really excited that they are stepped up to be a sponsor, and we wanted to, in open arms, congratulate you 4 companies. First of all, this was probably the toughest of all the categories. If you think basically about new application of AI and what that's done in healthcare, we probably had 75 or so companies apply. And we're now down to 4. And so it's a pretty amazing 4, and we're really excited about it. Today's agenda is going to be introductions. We're going to let the companies do their thing, talk about how amazing they are. Glen's going to talk, and if Glen's not on, we're going to basically save his talk for the end.
He's on.
Oh, great. Perfect. Excellent. And then we're going to get to a roundtable discussion. Closings from the audience, questions from the audience, and a closing. Now, a big part about what's going to happen today is this is recorded and it's going to all the judges. We have 250 judges. They're going to use this to make their decisions on who is the winner, and they look forward to getting as early as this evening. So with that, I want to introduce. Oh, that's me. No, I'm going to introduce Glen, and I'll get to me later. Glen is the founder of Livongo. He's a board member at UCSF Health Hub. He's a venture capitalist, and look, I don't have most amazing things to say about Glen. We honored him last year as one of our Hall of Fame winners. He founded Allscripts. He obviously has had amazing run. He's now executive chairman of Livongo. He's a former chief executive of Enterprise Systems. He's written books. He's invested in some amazing companies. He lives in Chicago and in the Bay Area at the same time. He's a huge fan of philanthropy, and we're really excited to have you, Glen. So Glen, I'm going to kick it off to you to talk about AI and what this means to Livongo and what this means to you.
So this is actually Amar Kendale, and I'm stepping in for Glen. Glen had an unfortunate last-minute family emergency, a death in the family that he had to attend to. So he asked me, very late breaking, to step in and do my very best to represent him. You know, Mark, thank you for the kind words. I'll be sure to relay those directly to Glen as well. It's been my privilege as Livongo's Chief Product Officer to work with Glen now for the entire 6 years that we've spent building Livongo. When we started the company, it was with this idea that we could empower people with chronic conditions to live better and healthier lives, and we started that journey with diabetes as our focus. Over that period of time, we've gone on to expand to a number of other conditions, including hypertension, prediabetes, most recently behavioral health. And all of this has given us an enormous opportunity to both learn as well as serve our members. And I'll talk about just a few things that we've learned, particularly when it comes to AI and the opportunity to use data and to develop insights and ultimately signals that we can distribute throughout the healthcare system to drive change. At the very beginning, what we found was that while people appreciated that data was important, that collecting that data was a burden. And the more passively we could allow people to offer that data to us, the more sustainable this process was of generating those insights that they could benefit from. So we did a lot of things that are perhaps, in retrospect, very intuitive, but things like making sure that the connectivity between a device, a monitor out in the real world, was seamless to reach the cloud. So we built cellular connected devices in order to do this and create that opportunity to bring the data in real time. Second, we made sure that once the data is in the cloud, that we could analyze it and annotate it with other data. That the sort of data fusion concepts, that of course have been very much at the leading edge of research, we were able to put a lot of that into practice to figure out if we have live blood sugar data coming in and we can couple that with steps data and couple that with input about stress, well, we can make some pretty strong conclusions about where a person's health status is and what kind of help we might want to offer. Of course, fundamentally, healthcare is a messy problem, right? And each of these problems has its own complexity. The problems we were focused on and continue to focus on have a lot to do with the actions a person takes in their daily life. Those things a person does in the routine management of their condition that, if done well, can produce extraordinarily strong clinical outcomes. If done poorly, of course, result in deterioration. So those consumer grade hassles became the sandbox for us to apply AI technology. And I'll give a few examples. One thing we learned was while people look at their numbers, they have a very hard time extracting the trends or the patterns from a string of their clinical data. So that became a really great place for us to begin to analyze the data on their behalf, produce a trend, but where we applied AI was actually not on that piece. It was on the piece that followed, and it's a feature we call health nudges that's designed to then make a suggestion in order to prompt a person to take a specific action in response to that pattern. So for example, something that I encountered is elevated blood sugars after lunch, and this was a recurrent pattern.
Well, one of the things, Mark, I just want to make sure we have our timetable in this last minute. If you can wrap up in a few seconds, that would be great. Of course,
yep. Absolutely. So what we learned was we can offer this very personalized feedback to a person in the moment that they're taking a health action. Well, that becomes the basis for then really iterating on that system, making sure we're offering those same kinds of recommendations to people like me. And that's been, I think, a really great opportunity. We've been able to then demonstrate these results, both in published clinical studies, as well as in a number of other places. So we're proud to be the sponsor of this particular track. We're big believers, as you might imagine, in the power of AI to transform these healthcare problems, and I'm very excited to hear more about the semifinalists.
Great. Well, thank you. And really sorry we couldn't get Glenn here. This truly is very, very last minute. I got an email from him 40 minutes ago. I hope everything is really okay. So look, a huge thanks to all of our other sponsors at the Health Awards. We've got a great group of sponsors besides Livongo. We have Wilson Sonsini, NTT, Silicon Valley Bank, and a whole number of different venture firms. And we're really here to honor you 4 companies today. Let's just go to the next slide. So how did we get here? Well, we got here, we have 15 categories. This is one of our 15 categories. We've spent over 3 months. We've gone through over 750 submissions. We've gone through 3 rounds of judging process. We have over 250 judges, and they've each focused on their specialties, and they've picked the winners. And these are the 4 winners that we've got today. These are some absolutely great companies, and really excited to see them up on the stage on the 23rd. Next slide. Okay, so our criteria. So how do we pick these companies? Well, we picked them because really in their first round, we had a different set of criteria than we did in the second round. In the first round, we really wanted to make sure that we found companies that were in market, that were making a difference, and that were validated. So we put double scores on some of those areas. In this case, in our second round, we looked at most of our companies, and they were already in market and validated. So what we did is we said we had an even 50 points. 10 points went to what's the value the companies were providing to their customers, what was the level of innovation the companies were taking on, what was the level of validation that they really had, were they touching 1 million people or were they touching 10,000 people? Again, market traction, are you international, are you just focused in a region? And then how are you really different? How are you different from those other companies? And this actually mattered a lot because the companies now know who they were really, in a sense, competing with in the awards. Next slide. So we're really excited here to basically let the semifinalists do their thing. And for those of you online, this part of the session is going to be now recorded and all sent to all the judges. So it's an important part of the process where the judge is making the decision for the winner. So let's get into the companies right now. We have 4 amazing companies. I personally know these 4 companies well. They are great companies. Viz, Suki, Gauss, and Karius. We have 4 representatives from each of the companies, and I'm going to shut up because I think what you want to do is you want to hear about why these companies matter and why they're different. So let's move on. Karius, it's all you.
Well, hi, everyone, and thank you guys for considering us in these semifinals. I'm really happy to be here today. We were asked to think about a few key points around our unique value and how we're bringing that value to the market. And I really wanted to touch on that topic along with the focus on AI. So, well, despite all the advancements made in infectious disease diagnostic, there's still a great need for a test that identifies the underlying cause for an infectious disease, as many patients remain undiagnosed and empirically treated. Karius discovery made it possible to detect more than 1,000 different pathogens from anywhere in your body using a single blood test. We offer a service to physicians, and the service has the potential to diagnose more cases more rapidly, de-escalate all the non-infective treatment, put more patients on the right drug, and perhaps more importantly, avoid the need for a biopsy, especially in cases of highly vulnerable patients like cancer patients, babies, and young adults. At the heart of the science and core to our differentiated value lies a new data type, the microbial cell-free DNA. And what's unique about Karius is how we combined our IP-protected molecular technology with the proprietary machine learning techniques. And jointly, these account for all the different problems that can originate from inaccurate and incomplete data. In other words, digitizing and interpreting this unique and novel data type is at the core of the technical problems we are solving through AI. And this is exactly what unlocks liquid biopsy for infectious diseases.
Excellent. Well, that's what you guys are, it's amazing. And I remember I actually voted for you, so I'm not supposed to say that, but that's great. Who's next? Next slide. Viz.
Hi, everybody. My name's Dr. Derek Nwizo. I'm a physician and I'm the VP of Growth at Viz.ai. We're extremely excited to make the semifinal rounds of the 2020 UCSF Digital Health Awards and the new application of AI category, and even more honored to be amongst such esteemed companies in this category that are all working pretty hard to accelerate AI in healthcare. So what makes our technology unique? At Viz.ai, our mission is to get patients to life-saving treatment fast. And in particular, we do this with stroke. To achieve our mission, we're leveraging artificial intelligence, deep learning, and machine learning to automatically detect and triage suspected stroke patients in real time. We'll use our technology to identify suspected strokes on brain imaging, immediately alert the entire care team, and then the care team can conveniently view the brain scans and securely chat on their mobile devices. Our solution is exceedingly novel. Our technology was granted FDA approval through a de novo pathway. This made Viz the first ever computer-aided triage and notification platform to identify suspected strokes on brain imaging. And why is this important? Because front-running technologies like Viz are helping to enable viable regulatory pathways for future AI technologies in healthcare. We're also doing this in reimbursement too. Last week, Viz was honored and humbled to become the first AI software to receive Medicare New Technology add-on payment, aimed to further help hospitals adopt our advanced technology and improve stroke care. And I just want to do a time check. How much time do I have to further elaborate, or are we going to be going on to more questions?
I think we'll go to another 30 seconds, and then we have a few questions, but do your thing.
Okay, perfect. So how are we differentiated from the 3 other semifinalists? Well, we think quite highly of the 3 other semifinalists. We know them quite well. And Viz is exceedingly supportive of the work that each is doing. But I think the important thing for artificial intelligence is not just the impact that we're making with patients, but the roadmaps that we're creating for other AI companies to bring their technology to market and to further commercialize them. On the patient side of things, Viz's impact is clear. We're installed in hundreds of hospitals across the nation. We're quickly becoming ubiquitous, and we're clinically proven to decrease time to treatment, reduce length of stay, and improve patient outcomes. And for the patients that we work with, that's the difference between a life of permanent disability requiring skilled nursing services for the remainder of your life versus being able to engage in a highly functional and active lifestyle where you're able to continue picking up your grandkids and doing the things that really matter to you. And then on the regulatory and reimbursement side of things, we are working really closely with partners like the FDA and CMS to better think about how we can make AI a bit more viable for our patients and our healthcare providers.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Great. Suki.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Lee Simon, Senior Director of Marketing with Suki. Thank you so much for considering us for this particular award. We're really honored to be considered along with the 3 other wonderful companies in the category. So Suki is a clinical digital assistant for physicians. The problem that we're trying to tackle is on the administrative side, not on the clinical side. So we're taking a different application of AI. You know, the problem that we're trying to solve is pretty well known. Providers are tasked with all sorts of administrative work, clerical work, and studies have shown time and time again that physicians spend more time on these types of activities than they do on patient care. You know, about 2 hours on administrative work for every hour they spend on patient care. And we think that AI, natural language processing, machine learning can really help providers reduce that burden so they can really focus their attention on patients rather than on creating their encounter notes, et cetera. So that's what we do. We have a digital assistant that helps doctors with these types of tasks. We are deployed at over 100 sites, hospitals, clinics in the nation. And we've been able to help our users decrease their documentation time by 76% on average. And on top of that, we've been able to demonstrate financial impact for healthcare organizations. With the time savings, doctors have more capacities to see more patients. And so we see on average, our users see about 1 additional patient per day. We also see that Suki created documentation is generally of higher quality, and that actually translates to reduced claims denial rates. So on average, we help our customers reduce claim denial rates by 19%. So coupled with the increased encounter volumes, we do help healthcare organizations increase their revenue as well. And you know, in healthcare, financial pressure and thin margins is unfortunately something that all organizations are dealing with. So helping to contribute on the revenue side is something that we are very excited to be able to demonstrate.
Excellent. That's great. Gauss.
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, thank you all for having us and for giving us this opportunity to speak. Like I think others have noted, we're just absolutely humbled to be recognized, even in this class of companies. Know many of them well, and it's great again to be here with all of you. So I'll start with just a quick overview of Gauss. We're really harnessing computer vision and in some new cases, deep learning to solve some very ubiquitous problems in medicine, really bridging these key diagnostic gaps that would otherwise not have a solution. We started in obstetrical and surgical care, monitoring and assessing how much blood a patient is losing in surgery. So this is something that is going to affect a lot of us, this problem in our own lives. And what we've done is taken AI, put it on probably the most consumer-friendly mobile device out there, and actually physically delivered it into a hospital. So we're not just a healthcare AI company, we're actually a medical technology company that's bringing sort of a new type of diagnostic engine into the surgical space. Now we've scaled this to the point where we're actually using AI-driven bleeding assessments to actually drive hemorrhage care in hospitals. And we're finding hospitals really adopt this as sort of the new standard of care moving beyond 2020. Gauss was one of the first, if not the first, use of computer vision in medicine. We founded the company in 2011. We toughed it out through a de novo clearance, just like our colleagues at Viz. We received our de novo back in 2014, and then several 510Ks following that. So I think it has been a really interesting case study for the use of AI and computer vision in medicine. and foundational in the work that we've done with FDA to help them better understand how this new class of technologies can work. Today, Gauss is in over 250,000 surgeries commercially annually in the US. We've seen a monotonic increase in our patient population through the pandemic, and I'm really just humbled to have been able to support and to continue to support our hospitals who are continuing to deliver babies and have large non-elective surgeries happen even in this difficult time. So why are we so foundational? And if I were to sort of offer a why Gauss, we've been able to take something, I think, on one level that we're all carrying around in our pockets and to turn it into a class 2 medical device to really drive the practice of medicine in probably one of the most intense clinical settings that I was ever exposed to. I'm an engineer by training, and so I really got to see medicine with sort of fresh eyes when founding this company. I think we pioneered the use of CV and deep learning in medicine. Taking it through the FDA, as I said, was, I think, a very foundational thing to do, and we hope it's had a really positive impact on the industry. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that we've recently, over the past year, really worked on bringing the use of AI in medicine beyond even sort of the economic studies. We have over 25 publications on our technology. We've shown that it delivers an improvement in cost, improvement in safety, and better outcomes. But most interestingly, we've seen 2 recent major milestones. Number one, the American College of OBGYNs, ACOG, issued a committee opinion that specifically called out our technology and specifically the use of AI-based technology to detect and treat hemorrhage as a recommended practice. And the second thing we saw was the Joint Commission, which is the regulatory body that accredits over 80% of US hospitals. They issued a regulatory mandate earlier this year requiring the use of, quote, an algorithm to identify and treat hemorrhage. And we feel just so proud and humbled to have been a little part of that into sort of developing these longer term standards of care within medicine. And we think that's going to help really set the standard for the broader acceptance of AI as a foundational application and a foundational category in improving patient lives.
That's great.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Sid. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I had put together with Glen, and I will now, I'm gonna run with this one. 4 questions. This is where it gets fun, the roundtable discussion. And I'm gonna, because I'm gonna step in for Glen, I'm gonna do it a little differently. But we basically said, what's so unique about what you're doing? What's the user journey look like? Let's get into validation, and what do the next 5 years take you? I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, guys. And I'm gonna, to make this more fun for our judges, you're each gonna get 20 seconds and you're gonna answer the following 2 questions. Question number 1 is, how have you changed the status quo in your space? So I want everyone, so let's do that first question. So each of you has 20 or so seconds to answer that question, because this is really important, especially in the AI category. And Savannah, I'm gonna ask you to go first.
All right, thank you. So really in 20 seconds, I believe that we're entering the era of the molecular X-ray machine. And we've been hearing about speech recognition and we've been hearing about image analysis, but with the wealth of new data that is being generated, new data types, and Karius is really at the forefront of a new type of data, the microbial cell-free DNA, we are bringing machine learning to a whole new set of problems. I mean, think about it. The training sets and the test sets evolve away from each other. New pathogen emerge, the more medicine interacts with biology. So we are dealing with a shifting reality. And to answer your question, you know, what's interesting and what's unique, microbial cell-free DNA represents new, exciting, impactful, and different challenge to AI. It's a new data type and new category of problems that was not addressed before.
That's great. Derek, I guess you get to go next.
Perfect. What has Viz done? It's revolutionized the way that we're treating stroke patients in this country. We've converted a process that ordinarily takes hours to occur, and we've made it so it can happen in several minutes. And for a stroke patient, this couldn't be more vital. There's a saying in stroke, time is brain, every minute that a patient goes untreated, they're losing 1.9 million brain cells. And 15 minutes can literally be the difference between permanent disability for the rest of your life or not. What Viz has done is we've created a technology that is clinically validated to reduce the time to treatment. It's reducing length of stay in the neuro ICU and overall hospitalization, and it's improving functional outcomes. Has major ramifications for our patients, but it's also good for the entire system where stroke is a primary driver of cost. By using technology to make providers more efficient and to increase access to care, we're bringing that cost down in very meaningful ways.
Great. Genevieve, you get to go. The status quo. This is for you guys. This is slam dunk.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think how we've been able to change the status quo is for physicians really to untether them from the electronic medical record. I think almost everyone has had the experience of going to their doctor and their doctor typing at the computer with their backs facing the patient. And, you know, that's because they're so busy trying to write down their notes, click check boxes, make sure everything is documented appropriately. And with Suki, you know, we use natural language processing and ML so that we can really understand doctors' intents, what they're saying. They can speak a few phrases to Suki, and Suki will take care of those tasks for them. And also Suki is a software-only solution. It's a mobile app you can download on your smartphone, or you can use it on a Chrome browser on a computer. So the doctors don't have to be logged into the EMR anymore. As long as they have their phone or their computer, they can pull up their Suki account, dictate their notes, you know, ask Suki to do other things in the EMR, and they're done. So we've given doctors a lot of mobility and freedom in where they complete their tasks.
Excellent. Sid.
So put simply, I think we've at Gauss have been able to help clinicians stop guessing. The standard of care, the status quo in a surgery or a delivery was to visually guesstimate how much blood a patient has lost and whether or not the patient needs a transfusion. Now, that can be the difference between bleeding out and decompensating or an improper or unnecessary transfusion. And by using computer vision and AI, we've been able to give doctors and nurses a serious piece of data that they trust, that's FDA grade, that's clinically validated, to actually change the way they make this important diagnostic decision. In so doing, we've, I think, transformed hemorrhage care as it stands.
Okay, great. Here's my second question. It's a little different, but one of the things we've learned this year with the awards is that we really wanted to see companies win that were solving really, really big problems, like trillion-dollar problems, multi-billion-dollar problems. And so that's where I'm going to go with this question. So this isn't so much of how are you different from your from the other semifinalists. This is all about I want to tell me how big the problem is that you're solving. Is it $1 trillion problem? And in 5 years from now, are we going to be able to look back at your company and saying your company was one of those companies that helped get us off of the high-cost healthcare track? Savan, you get to go first.
Right. It's always great to go first as the first attempt to answer your questions. So if I think about the big picture and like how many lives are being influenced by this, look, infectious diseases are top of mind for everyone right now. I mean, think about it. The pandemic shows how important it is to increase the investments we're making into infectious disease diagnostics and early detection in particular. If you can stop it early, again, look at us, significant loss of life in the US and worldwide. Economies are suffering. There's no doubt that all these other diseases and the great benefits that are being introduced by these companies is super helpful for healthcare. But we are putting economy at a complete stop right now. And the technologies that companies like Karius are introducing are attempting to stop this early on. And while at the same time, we are offering true benefits to the many patients that are being empirically treated, all the patients that are getting an invasive procedure. Think about the brain biopsy that you can avoid. Think about the baby that is getting 10 tubes of blood because the doctor is playing, test roulette. So the idea of building this X-ray machine, molecular X-ray machine that tells the physician what's driving their patient's disease can touch each one of us multiple times during our lifetime.
That's great. Well, now you know why I asked you to go first. Okay, Derek.
Yeah, the problem that Viz is working to solve is quite big. Our beachhead is in stroke, but we're quickly expanding to other disease modalities and conditions. And the issue is inefficiency in healthcare. I'm a doctor. Prior to Viz, I was at Stanford doing surgery, and I acutely experienced the just inefficiencies throughout my entire working day. And these are inefficiencies that technology is well postured to address. We at Viz, we like to think of ourselves as a system of action. So when you think of EMR companies like Epic or Cerner, these are great repositories for information, but there's a better way that we're finding for physicians and healthcare providers to interact with information and to act on it. And that's using AI as a supplemental technology for disease detection, and then providing all the communication tools that a provider or a team of providers needs to deliver care efficiently and quickly. So quite simply, what Viz is doing, and our major ambition, is to ensure that any patient, regardless of what disease they're suffering from, gets the gold standard of care, and they get it as quickly as possible, which is really core to our mission. It drives every decision we make in the company.
Perfect. Janamine.
Sure. Yeah. So the problem that we're trying to solve with physician burnout is a well-recognized problem. A couple of years ago, I believe it was the Annals of Internal Medicine did a study that concluded that physician burnout costs the health system, the US health system, $4.6 billion every year. So it's a very significant problem. And that's due to things like physician turnover, physicians taking off time because they're too burnt out. You know, there's an increased risk for medical errors when physicians are burned out. And, you know, very unfortunately, physicians are also at higher risk of suicide because of just overwhelming amounts of work that they're tasked with. So that's the problem. It's a very significant, very big problem that we're trying to tackle. And we think that we can make an impact. I shared some of our outcomes, you know, earlier. But what we do see is, you know, with the time savings that we help doctors with in their administrative work, they do feel like they have more time to spend with their patients, to build a deeper relationship with their patients. And also, very importantly, they feel like they have more time to go home and spend it on self-care, spend it with friends and family, on hobbies, etc. And it's very gratifying for us to hear these stories from our users. So that's the problem that we're trying to address.
Sid, the $1 trillion problem. Tell us about it.
Sure. So blood management, which is sort of the beachhead that we've started in, is something that's very ubiquitous across surgery. Blood is a top 5 patient safety cost, quality of care issue for hospitals. And so as a beachhead, we found that this was a really necessary and immediate area to focus on. And we think it's going to have a lasting impact on the surgical market, which is a very large and robust market. But broadly, Gauss's mission is to bring computer vision to healthcare spaces, to help bridge these crazy diagnostics gaps that are otherwise unsolvable. And I think our use of computer vision in healthcare is really going to parallel that of robotics. And we're all seeing what robotics is doing in the healthcare market today. Specifically, a little bit about our pipeline beyond blood in surgical settings. We have built a very robust pipeline of IP and new technologies in computer vision. They include things like camera-based vital signs, blood perfusion, and surgical action recognition, which are all very large areas, really turning the sort of operating room into an Amazon Go and being able to accelerate what physicians can do diagnostically and in terms of patient management. I'm also pleased to add, just in this little circle, that tomorrow morning we will be making an announcement in the infectious disease space that involves computer vision. And we think that's going to be incredibly exciting and impactful for all of our lives as far as this pandemic is concerned. So we're really excited, I think, broadly to look at computer vision as a foundational technology in medicine. And we consider that our leadership in this space is going to make a tremendous maybe not trillion, but triple-digit billion-dollar impact on medicine.
Great, great. Well, we want to wrap this up in the next 5 or 6 minutes, because that's what we promised. We've gotten quite a few questions from the audience, and I just want to normalize it a little bit. And I'm going to let everyone answer basically one more question, and it's going to be around COVID. Let's assume COVID in a year and a half. There's a vaccine. We normalize. Tell me about your company when COVID basically settles down, and it's no longer the focus for everything. Tell me where your company is going to sit in the ecosystem, and tell me basically what COVID has done to advance the recognition and awareness that how important your technology is. Guess who gets to go first?
Awesome. All right, so the question is about COVID and the day after. And actually, you know, funny enough or not, I'm getting this question quite often. And we spoke about how the pandemic is important. And, you know, I'm glad that Sid brought up their development. You know, I'm waiting to see that announcement. But when you think about the methodologies, when it comes to pandemics are a good example of where hypothesis-driven testing really shines. You have Zika, you have Ebola, you have COVID-19. They represent a different paradigm when you know exactly what you're looking for, and you design the most optimized test for that one thing. So I do anticipate a sub $1 solution that is everywhere in the planet, and we'll have great companies in delivering these results. There's multiple publications on this topic. The way Karius helps with the current pandemic and potentially future outbreaks is by doing exactly what we're doing specifically well, and that is to provide a wide molecular lens, an hypothesis-free way to determine the underlying cause of an otherwise undiagnosed infectious diseases. So I see the future of Karius really embedded in that digital immune system of the world, where we're trying to stop this early on rather than deal with the nobody can leave home and social distancing everywhere, and we're trying to figure out when we can send our kids to school. The additional challenges that was introduced by COVID-19, and I anticipate similar cases in the future, comes from the fact that physicians are now struggling to find new ways to avoid any procedure that would otherwise put them, their patients, or their future patients under unnecessary risk. Think about the CT, the biopsies. Karius offers a way that can potentially reduce all these additional procedures through our liquid biopsy for infectious disease, minimizing risk to patients and physicians. So I think that all the current situation is pushing us to develop an even stronger molecular lens that allows us to predict the next pandemic and help with that.
Great. Okay, Derek, so COVID ends. How has everything changed for you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that the DNA of our company was uniquely prepared for. We're a company of doctors, leading industry professionals, some of the most talented deep learning engineers on the planet. And when COVID hit, our hospital partners needed help. And we quickly realized how important it is to have technologies that allow you to deliver care in a virtual environment, remote and safe from potential disease. And what we were able to do very quickly in a matter of a couple weeks was develop a product specifically for caring and managing COVID patients that we were able to provide to hospitals that wanted it free of charge to help with that time of need. For stroke patients, COVID has been horrible. We have more patients getting strokes now with COVID, and we have fewer patients actually presenting to the hospital. The ones that do, they present much later as a result of concerns around COVID. And it's making a technology like ours even more valuable in the market. We're seeing hospitals come to us very quickly because they're depending on our technology now to help with the care and management of stroke patients.
Excellent. All right. Genevieve, COVID.
Sure. Yeah, you know, with COVID, when COVID first hit, we just wanted to help our customers. So when the lockdown first happened, we offered Suki for free to all frontline providers. And we also quickly added a few templates to Suki to help our users document COVID encounters faster, as well as document telehealth encounters faster. So we did that pretty quickly. You know, I think for us, COVID has really shined a light on how big of a problem physician burnout is. Now with COVID, physicians are even under more pressure to treat patients under more stress, trying to figure out telehealth, etc. And we've seen a huge influx in inquiries and demand for Suki at health systems to help with this problem. So I think once COVID subsides, we're going to be getting out there, meeting with our prospects face to face, really trying to help them incorporate Suki to their physician bases and help really just tackle this issue of burnout more broadly.
Hey, Sid, I think Genevieve said it really well, which is how is COVID shining a light on what you're doing? That's actually how I'm going to rephrase this question. So
Sure.
Sid, it's all you. Let's wrap
Well,
it up.
I'm all about pivoting, so I'll, as my team will tell you. So let me take that in two parts. First of all, let me just talk about the core market that we're sort of in today, which is surgery. Surgery is going to be back, and it's going to be back in large volumes, bigger than ever. In fact, for many of our existing customers, they'll be caught up on their case volumes by October, November of this year, and sort of back to the new normal or post-COVID state in a sense. I think through COVID and our core business of bringing computer vision to surgery, we've just seen no change, frankly, in the engagement that we've had from customers. We've been very similar to kind of what our colleagues were sharing. We've been glad to be able to help and get extra units and shipments of iPhones out to hospitals to sort of amplify their use of this foundational technology in the setting of COVID. Sometimes you need extra operating rooms running with quarantine patients. I think we're going to see digital simply accelerate post-COVID. And I think the way that COVID has shown a light, in a sense, on our work in computer vision is really the focus on the smartphone. I think we're going to see hospitals adopting more enterprise-grade digital tools. They're seeing how robust these tools are, especially when they're digitally native, to physical access constraints of traditional medical devices. So I think that's the first paradigm shift you're going to see. But I think the second point that's extremely interesting is that the smartphone is going to be a central tenet of what I'm going to call sort of distributed medical care, where you're effectively interacting with providers virtually. And I think the diagnostic opportunity there is unparalleled. The more telemedicine visits we have, the more virtual care we have, we're going to need technologies that can enable us to take diagnostics and therapeutics across that virtual gap as well. And that's where I believe that our foundational focus on computer vision is going to be extremely exciting, starting with our new applications as they relate to this pandemic, but certainly more broadly, you're going to see a lot more medicine and computer vision aided medicine being performed on your smartphone in your house.
Excellent. Let's go to the next slide. First of all, we wanted to keep this at 45 minutes. That's where we are. Look, congratulations to you four companies. This has been a long road. The road's not over. You've beaten out really some amazing companies that have raised billions of dollars in venture capital, that have lots of deployments. And you guys are the ones that we're shining the light on today. And to that end, I wanted to thank all of you. This is going to be a very, very helpful session for our judges. Looking forward to the 23rd. Super congratulations again to all of us, and especially for this event. This is sponsored by Livongo. Livongo won this last year, and it was meaningful. And good luck to the four of you in winning next week. The grand finale is September 23rd. It's 6 o'clock. If you haven't registered, register at www.ucsfhealthawards.com/join. We are expecting 10,000 people for the grand finale. We're really excited about all the crazy things we're doing. It's going to be as crazy and online a celebration as one can do in this environment. So again, thank you. And again, panelists, thank you also for being my guinea pigs. This is the first of the semifinalists, and we pivoted together, and this was a double pivot today. So thank you again, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.